What's up, folks? HitPointsGaming here, back with another podcast. Chris, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks.
Corey, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Although I'm a little sad, I'm the only non-father now.
Oh, yeah.
In our podcast.
You should be very happy.
Yeah,
be very happy.
You still are able to do what you'd like to do when you get home from work. So, today's episode in our podcast is going to be about board games. And that's because we really haven't done a board game podcast episode yet. So we're going to go into, a couple different directions there. But first, we're going to start off with what we've been up to. And me personally, Final Fantasy 14 really is what I've been up to. I'm really excited that I got a new computer. Hooray. And my buddy Matt did as well. So we're going to be doing some multiplayer VR stuff. That's going to be super fun. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, I have a new high. I got 5th place. That made me very excited playing that game, doing singles.
Okay.
Got 5th place, and I didn't kill a single person. Dude, I just high.
That's because you're not playing with us, or else you would have a higher high.
Right, man. I just hide. I don't go next to anyone. I get like a shotgun with 12 bullets in it, just save it all the way till the end. I don't do anything. But besides that, man, just taking care of my little lady. She's much more active now than she was even a month ago. So I think I might even set up a TV downstairs and leave Kirby on and see if she will sit down and try to play it. Because whenever there's something on screen, she goes after my arcade stick or my controller, hits the buttons, and looks up to see if anything happens. So I'm interested to see if an 11-month-old will sit there and press buttons and look at a TV screen and understand that what I'm doing is manipulating the screen. But that's about it for me. Chris, what you been up to?
I've been doing a lot. Okay, so I just finished Lost Planet 3. That was what was that, 2013? I think the game came out.
Is that the first person one?
It's a third person one.
Okay.
Lost Planet 1 and 2 were phenomenal games. You're like on another world, and you have to there are worlds in the universe. And you're on another world. You're trying to harvest thermal energy from inside the planet's core or some crap. And then there's these A-crate or aliens that are on the planet you're trying to battle and fight and kill. The first one and the second one are awesome. They're so much fun. The monsters are huge. The gameplay was really good. He just kind of puts you into different places. You're not running around in this open world. Like in 3, you're running around an open world and you have to go to each spot. You really can't teleport. The things are boring. The game is complete garbage.
That's awful to hear.
Yeah, and it sucks because I like to play games and not stop playing them,
Right.
So I had 10 hours of being miserable. And it just, the enemies are all the same. They don't really do anything cool. There's maybe 2 big monsters, and they're neat. But there's one real big monster, but you fight it twice, So it's not even like in the other one, you had huge monsters, and you fought them once because you would fight another huge. It was cool. It was
right.
like a shooter Monster Hunter. Now it's just kind of we just need to make another game. Let's try to make some money, and they put this crap out.
Right.
So that was pretty crap. And I can't even say I've been playing this game, Lauren, the Amazon Princess. It's like an indie RPG roguelike kind of game, and it's on Steam. And that was a waste of my 2 hours trying to play that game. That game I just gave up on. It's all story. Out of my 2 hours, I maybe played 15 minutes of battling. It's all story, and the story is not good, or at least to me, it's not good. I don't really enjoy it. Maybe I'm just putting it aside because it's not a Final Fantasy or a big top tier game developer.
But I think it's fair to say if the story was good and sucked you in, you'd be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
And I just felt I was reading things just so I knew what choices I had to make, because it was what would you like to do here? And it's just I don't even care. Just get me to a fight, I wanted to see what the gameplay was like. And the gameplay is reading a lot of text, it's crap.
I'm sorry, was the name of that game Pyre?
Lauren, Loren.
Okay, all right.
Not Pyre.
Not Pyre. The game is
Pyre
called Not Pyre.
At least looks like Pyre has good gameplay. This I barely even know. I've also been playing. It's been a long time since we've gotten together, so I've been playing a lot. we're back into Heroes. We've been playing Heroes of the Storm for a long time. We got some new champions. We got back into like doing the ranked games.
Okay.
So that was really cool, and it's neat because I think in like League, when you play ranked games or other games, it's either like win or lose. So like I play with the same 2 other guys, and we all finished our 10 ranked games, to see what you're going to rank as, and we all rank differently than each other. However, we all had the same win-loss ratio because we've only played with each other. So I guess it's pretty neat because I guess it ranks you on how you did, your personal performance.
Right.
I think. But like I usually play like damaging classes, so yeah, I'm gonna have more kills than them because they play more tank and healing and like support classes.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how that worked out.
How that works in League of Legends, you're depending at least on your specific character, you're rated on like a grading scale. So like if I play Sivir, I'm up against all the other Sivers out there. She's obviously an ADC, so she's like the damage class. But depending on my kill death ratio, I might get a really low grade, but our team might win. But so my ranking could be different. In your case, you might score like an S on her, but lose the game, but you might rank ahead of me. So I'm pretty sure they probably follow the same formula.
Which sounds like the right way to do it. I know Gears of War, me and Matt, we only really play together, and I'm like a silver rank 2, and he's like bronze 3 for, you know what I mean? So we literally have almost the same exact record, but when we play, mind you, I mean, you're not ranking against the same character in that game, but you definitely does count what you do. Like, even if you lose, you could still gain rank if you played well. You know what I mean? Like, if I was top of the class and we lost, whatever, I still did well.
It's good because it's not like, in those games, if you lose a game, it usually counts against you. And you might be doing really well, but yet 2 other people on your team are, AFK or something. So that's what I really like about it. And I guess it's not really groundbreaking, but it's nice that they included in that. And that's a lot of fun. I'm still playing that. I love that. I haven't been playing much PUBG, so I really can't talk about that too much. But biggest news for me is I've been waiting to play this game forever, and they did not release the first one on PC. So yeah, that's a big hint. Everyone knows what this game is. So Destiny 2, the demo came out for PC. It looks fantastic.
Awesome. That makes me happy because I actually got it free with my graphics card.
Oh my goodness, it looks so good. I'm so excited to play it because I've wanted to play the first one, but I don't own a PS4 or an Xbox One. So like I wasn't gonna buy it to play one game. I got a PC, It comes out next month, October. So I'm really looking forward to Destiny. It played really good. You only got like 2 PvP missions and 1 fire team. However, for a PC game, I think having Destiny be only 3 players to a fire team is kind of garbage for a PC game.
I was hoping that they changed it to 4 because 3 is just stupid. It's a dumb number.
It's a weird number.
So, but they didn't, and I'm not that excited for it because the first one let me down a little bit. And
you played the first one? I have never played it.
I played a ton of it until I got bored, which was relatively early in the entire game's lifespan.
Okay.
I did put a ton of hours into it, and apparently soon after I quit, it got better. But I was done. I was like, I don't feel like I need to go back.
I'm super excited for it. I've been waiting for like a first-person MMO with gear and things, and I don't need gear like like my arm braces and my chest pieces. I don't need all that. That'd be even cooler. But I just need to be able to get some loot and feel that struggle of getting new loot and finding it. And I've been waiting for a first-person shooter forever. Like I don't know if you guys remember, like 15 years ago, Huxley came out, and that was a complete garbage.
I didn't even know that came out.
Oh my god, it was horrible. But like that game was supposed to be so cool. It was supposed to be that, and it just wasn't anything. So anyway, I'm really excited for Destiny. I'm hoping it comes out and everyone gets it. The raids are going to be 6 players, which is going to be a better number for us. But I think 3 players is kind of rough. It's good because it's easy to find 2 other people to play with.
Right.
However, when you have a bunch of friends, and I know I've got a bunch of friends who are going to get it, we're like, oh. Yeah, we're going to be all split up. I'd rather have 4 players, I don't know. And I hear the matchmaking is still the same as it was in the first one, where you have to go on the forums and find somebody.
Right, but that's only for, what, Nightfalls and raids?
Yeah.
Right? Which is still, it's stupid. It's dumb.
Yeah.
If you just make matchmaking. If you're doing the raid and you don't have a team, let people play together.
Yes.
And if they suck, oh well, that's what you get for not having a team. But at least you can go try it. You know, for all you know, there could be a bunch of dudes who know what they're doing. Or that's how you teach players who don't know how to do it, how to do it. I don't know, man. They make weird decisions with that game. And the one thing I will say about Destiny over a lot of other shooters is the gunplay is fantastic.
It's great. I love it.
It feels so good. And like the scout rifles feel so heavy, man. I loved the shooting in that game, but just kind of everything around it kind of got a little boring for me.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking for, they already have a DLC announced, you know, like, or coming out right now or whatever. Like the first raid was the other day. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. Corey, what are you up to, bud?
Well, I'm waiting for this podcast to end so I could go raid in Destiny, actually, after this call. So that is the one video game I have been playing. I did play the first Destiny. I played it really up to maybe the second expansion, and I stopped. And that's when I heard, of course, it got really good. So
yeah,
I'm hooked on Destiny 2. I think there's a lot of really good elements. Chris, to your point, the gear's excellent. There are chest piece, armor, arms, legs, everything like that. So, yes. Basically, it's Halo meets World of Warcraft bosses. You know, all the boss fights, you have to figure out exactly how to fight them. And that was the best part of, one of the best parts of gaming for me was boss fights in World of Warcraft. So, this is it. Going back to the 3 players for a strike, it's really not that bad. The strikes are maybe 12 minutes long. They're quick. And if you're on there by yourself, you can find another 2 people. It's easy. What you're really going to want, those 6 players, is when you do a raid. Okay. So the 3, 4 people, don't let it bother you. It's not that bad. Good game so far, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it. But now jumping over into board games, and kind of like what HitPointsGaming has been up to, I'll start by saying Andrew and I are in the middle of a campaign of Seventh Continent. If you guys haven't seen it yet, this is the choose your own adventure survival board game. So you are a bunch of explorers that found this new continent, and you come back and you have a curse on your body somehow. There's like 6 different curses in the game. Now you have to go back to this continent and try and figure out how to relieve this curse from you. And you get this clue card, and the first clue card is kind of like a treasure map with like a dotted line and a bunch of different symbols. So it kind of tells you at least in which direction you're supposed to go. So Andrew and I played it. There's maybe 40 different actions you can take, different types of actions. So whether, for instance, there's a giant wall, well, you can climb that wall, or you can go fishing or hunting or start a fire. There's so many different things that you see on these physical cards that you flip over, and they kind of like build out the map. Very interesting, really cool gameplay. There's over 1,000 cards that come in this box, so the replayability is pretty tight. So Andrew and I started. We figured, okay, I have to get to the X of this treasure map. 2 hours in, we die. Okay. Try again. 3 hours in, we die.
And now, just to throw this out there, playing a board game for 3 hours ain't no joke. You know what I mean? It may seem like a short period, for maybe something like this that might last multiple days in a campaign. But for your average individual to play for 3 hours and lose and have to start over is not necessarily appetizing.
Right. So keep that in mind, okay?
Yeah.
This game does have something pretty cool where it has like this really cool save mechanic. So at certain points of the game, or after a certain amount of time, like say you want to put it away, you can put the cards in a certain order and it saves everything. It saves like how many uses you have on your items and whatnot. Really cool mechanism they added to this. So after maybe our 4th or 5th time losing, I was like, that's it. Let me go to the forums. What am I've got to be doing something wrong, right? Now, I go on, the first post I read, we're 15 hours into our first campaign, our first scenario, and we're about halfway done. I said, okay,
wow.
Obviously I'm doing something wrong. So this game is really about surviving, going out and hunting food. When you hunt for food, you get to replenish basically your life or your card deck, and that's how you lose when that deck runs out, basically, or you have a chance to lose. Okay. So we didn't even know about hunting because we were just trying to beeline towards the X. So you have to look for like animal tracks on cards, and then there might be a hidden number, and now you found a spot where you can hunt animals.
Is it like literally hidden on it, like kind of like the
Yes, yeah. So it's pretty cool. So now it's a whole extra element. All these different things, they really thought well when they designed this game. So that's what we're playing. I think we've put 2 episodes up there right now of our playthroughs. I think we're about maybe 2.5 hours in. So that's what Andrea and I are doing. Last night, our buddy Ricky and I, we played Star Wars Rebellion. Chris, I know you've played that game with us. And this is more of the overall cinematic type large-scale war between the Rebels and the Imperials. Basically, the Rebels pick a planet and they hide their base, and the Imperials need to find them and blow up their base.
So is this the one with the miniatures?
There are
the figurines that you have.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is this the one with like the figurines that you have?
No, that's a different game. That's more of like a Descent version. Okay. This is more of like a one-on-one Risk type maybe game.
Okay. No, I thought this was like a team game.
Well, we play it as teams.
Okay.
Because you have the option to, because we have.
Well, there's miniatures in it, isn't there? Like you have the ships and stuff.
You have the little ships. Okay.
Yeah, little ships.
Okay, yeah.
Well, what we did was last night was different because I picked up the expansion. The expansion came out, so we tried that, and it was called Rise of the Rebellion. So this kind of takes place during Rogue One. So it's like the Death Star just got built. You have all new characters, and we taped that, so that will be out in a few days. So you'll be able to see that. Cool. It was really cool. Rick and I would play, and then we would each go do our own interview, and we would talk about what we thought the other person was thinking, because you're trying to outsmart them. And so those are the 2 games that we're currently playing here at HitPointsGaming. But I want to turn it over, and let's kind of start off by, what do you remember growing up as your favorite board games, or what kind of got you into, I guess, the board game hobby when you were younger?
Well, if I could say what it would be like most kids, where you got board games for Christmas. You know what I mean? You got board games for Christmas. It wasn't just video games back then. Or you'd be watching Nickelodeon and you would see this crazy 80s action commercial for this game where people are flying all over the place and really, you're like, man, I need to have that. And you open it up and it sucks type of thing. But I would say like the games that I remember loving the most, and some that I can even still play till this day, is Omega Virus. For me, is easily the greatest board game ever created, ever. It was one of the first ones that I remember that had a speaker, so the guy talked to you. It had like voice samples and stuff, and the way the game was you had to basically find the bad guy in these rooms based off of listening to him and kill him. And the winner of the game, you could fight each other, but the winner of the game is the person who found him and kill him. So it was competitive and cooperative at the same time. Then after that, like Torpedo Run for me was huge, but that's not, I kind of put that in a different tier. Like Torpedo Run, Crossfire, Weapons and Warriors, that's the difference between like a board, like an RPG and an action RPG. You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy versus Zelda. Mm-hmm. So I would put that like as an action board game. And I love Torpedo Run. That's where you had to blow up the suds and you shot little discs across like a mat.
Do you still have that? Does anyone have that?
I have it downstairs.
Corey's got it, man. And
we're talking about it.
That thing was a pain to set up, to all the rubber bands and stuff to make stuff go flying. Then I remember I loved Loopin' Louie a ton.
I was just thinking of that right now.
I love Loopin' Louie. It was a little plane that went around in a circle, and you had a little paddle to hit to knock the plane up so it didn't hit your chickens. And once you got dumb good at it, you could hit it so it would go over the next person's thing, so they couldn't hit it with the paddle, and it would land right on the chicken. And we got way too competitive with that game on my street, by the way, playing Loopin' Louie. Way too competitive. But that's really it for me. I mean, I always liked board games. The reason why I don't play them so much now is because, like, I'm not a big dice roller. I like to have control. Now, a dice roll can add a ton of excitement to a board game, I will admit. But, man, I'm such a crappy dice roller that, like, when it comes down to the final moment and I need a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, I get the 1 every time.
Corey's good at that, too.
And it sucks, man. And Corey has showed me a ton of great games that I have no doubt fallen in love with, man. Time Stories and Twilight Imperium, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that I love to play. I'm not into the big, well, besides Time Stories, but I'm not into the big card-based ones so much. I don't find those as fun as moving a character across a board with dice. But that's kind of like where I got my start, man. Just those old games that everybody kind of knows, and I didn't start playing board games again until until I found that you guys did. Chris?
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. We didn't have Loop and Louie. We had the Back Off Buzzard game. Very similar. There were so many different kinds. But I wouldn't even call these board games back then. We all played Mousetrap, and everyone played the game wrong. No one actually played it, I don't think.
No, you just set it up and tried to get
it. Yeah, you just set it up and knock it down. Monopoly, like Sorry, Life. I guess those are really light board games. I guess what's really cool...
I would say Monopoly is definitely a board game. So it's competitive. It's Life is.
Well, I'll chime in here. Back then, and if you talk to anyone outside of, I guess, this knowledge of the board games out there, anyone on the street, they're gonna tell you Monopoly, Sorry, all those games.
Right, those count.
And that's where a lot of people's knowledge of board games end. Right. They have no idea that there's this whole other world out there. And honestly, I didn't either up until a few years ago when I started. I think Settlers of Catan was the first game that kind of got me into this whole extra hobby of different mechanics and whatnot. And I would say this is maybe about, 7 years ago. I think we started getting back into board games at a whole new level. And then since then, obviously, things have taken off. But yeah, we all started with Monopoly and whatnot. And I know, Chris, you still had probably another one or two to say.
I was just saying, yes, they are technically board games, but you said it exactly. When we were younger, that's what a board game was.
Right.
It's really cool that it's evolved into these much deeper, grander games. And not all games are going to be, like Twilight Imperium, but there are games that are out there that are not as in depth, but still really good. Like, being like a father now. I want to have some cool board games, not Chutes and Ladders, but something else that's out there that really uses... There's so many people making board games now that can really teach people how to play or, things, U.S. history, stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot more fun as an older person who's played all these crappy board games and these newer board games, to play them with someone else who's like my kid, who's, to teach them how to do things. Right. It's not going to be... learning the Constitution, this board game, it's really just, boring. Maybe there's someone else to make something cooler, more fun, more, deeper rule sets. And that's kind of where I really like the evolution of where board games have become, the past few years.
I think overall now board games just have a ton, like even competitive, because Monopoly is technically competitive. You're just landing on spaces, and you can have a plan. But now the planning is much more of, I'm going to do these things in this order to accomplish this goal, as opposed to like, okay, I'm going to, I hope to land on these spaces to get these properties and hope other people do.
Right.
And I think it's insane, some of the different board games that are out there. I know we played a couple that I can't even name, but there was one where there was like a mountain in the middle and you had to go around kind of RPG style and you could kill each other. And that game was, it's great, man. I think most people don't know about that stuff, or they choose not to be involved because they're too cool for it at that point. If you ever mention Dungeons and Dragons around a crowd, oh no, but when in reality, Dungeons and Dragons is a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game where you create a character and you literally play through a campaign, which those same people do in video games all day long.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I would have to say you know, whenever I mention, oh, you know, I play board games, or, you know, we have a board game channel, people are like, they kind of like scoff. They're like, oh, what do you play, Monopoly? It's like, wait, no, sorry, you don't know anything about it. And whenever I have the opportunity to bring somebody in, Andrea, my current wife, my sister, you know, any other person along the street that I used to work with, I say, let me show you a game. I have a game for every single person, you know, whether it's a very, you know, short, like if they want to have like high luck or whatever, and I can get them kind of introduced into the hobby and just let them know there's more out there.
Yes.
So, and then they don't scoff at it anymore. Then they have an understanding, you know. So I think it's cool. The one game that hasn't been mentioned on here that started it all for me when I was younger was Hero Quest. So that was the first dungeon crawler that I kind of fell in love with, and I just ran from it. And you know, a few years ago we went back to it and finally beat it, and it was like super easy to beat, you know. But it was just a lot of fun as a kid, and I had a lot of memories, you know, with my grandfather playing it and my aunt. So that was really sharp. And then as we got older, we got introduced into Warhammer and Warhammer 40K and fantasy, and that's when I kind of saw that there was this whole tournament level to board games, and I'm a big competitive player. I like going to tournaments, so I've went to, you know, Vegas, Chicago, Maryland, doing all the tournaments for Warhammer, and wow, I got my butt kicked. I thought I was a good player. These guys were just a whole level above me, but it didn't stop me from wanting to get better. So I'm always looking for that when it comes to games. I currently still am, you know. X-Wings miniatures came out. I got into that. And then recently at Gen Con, Fantasy Flight, which is probably the most well-known or biggest board game producer out there, they introduced the Star Wars Legion. So it is basically Warhammer meets Star Wars. That's going to come out, I think, in December. You know, because Games Workshop, who makes Warhammer, and Fantasy Flight, they were partners. Well, they recently broke within the last year, and everyone's wondering why. Probably had something to do with a few of these initiatives that Fantasy Flight wanted to do. So they're kind of creeping into their market. So that's a game that I'm going to definitely be interested in, and I'm sure I'll be showing you guys, of course, when it comes out, because I always get excited and, you know, need friends to play it with and test it out.
I remember, not to go completely off track, but there was a game we played in your tournament where we totally were like going through a forest with multiple characters on the team, and like I was like an archer.
Yep.
And what game is that?
That is Descent.
Oh, and so, that was Descent. Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's a co-op version of Descent that we played.
Okay.
And to your point that you mentioned earlier, those Star Wars figures that I have, it's like a Star Wars version of Descent.
Yeah. Okay.
You have different classes, different items that you get. So yeah, and that's really where Hero Quest is like a dumbed down version of that, and
right.
They've obviously have gotten better over the years.
And I know you said Hero Quest was easy. I remember actually playing that with you guys. That might have been the first one that I played. That was at Ricky's house, I believe. I think I played that with you guys.
Yeah.
And what makes that game fun is taking the risk. Like, oh, I'm gonna go in there and get that treasure. Like, no, we could just leave. I'm the wizard.
Don't knock on the door.
Do
not
wizard.
Knock on the door.
I'm going to Magic Missile, and that is it. And it's basically game over. He's got like one hit point, but yeah, man, you guys introduced me to this whole realm, and there's a lot of fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and Doug, you actually brought up a good point of kind of where this whole thing started with us taping games. At least is we started a tournament, I guess, with I think it was 8 of us all started, and we just played a bunch of different board games, and we gave each other points depending on how well we did in standings, and then. I think it might have started with Descent and Robinson Crusoe. We started taping our games just for something for us to share with our friends and, you know, the other team, and got to see what the other team did. And then it kind of evolved to really what we're doing today on, you know, on the board game playthrough side of Hit Point Gaming. So
right.
it was that's how we all started. We're on our way. We're doing well. I enjoy it.
It is really fun. So Corey, if I know we already talked about some of the things that are coming out. What else, if you know any, are you excited about in the near future, or even not the near future, as far as games that are coming out, or maybe something that you plan on recording that you haven't already, that you have the game? I know that you are the man to go to out of the three of us for the upcoming games from different franchises and stuff. Like I know that I know you guys had Dark Souls and you played it, but what else what else do you see coming that you're either excited for or that you really couldn't give a crap about?
Okay, so this portion of it could probably be a whole episode in itself on Gen Con. Gen Con happened in August. A whole bunch of new games were released or got announced. There's only one we really need to be talking about.
Okay.
And then there's another thing that I want to bring up with Chris, and I'll get his opinion on it. But number one is the 4th edition of Twilight Imperium. After, I think, 10 years, they're doing another edition of this game. Now, we will not talk about why we haven't played this.
No, I'm not letting you get past this.
We will not be talking about that on this podcast. That might be another time. But a new version of Twilight Imperium. Doug, you've played this game. You are one of the go-to players. Chris, I think you've tried it once, and you probably do not want to play this game again.
I've played this game like 4 times.
Chris has been in there.
Yeah.
Well, where were you last time?
Maybe last time you didn't invite me.
Wow. Possible. I think I don't want to play this game again.
No, okay, I really like it, but anyway.
From can you give a quick rundown of what Twilight Imperium, this opera game, is for anyone who's listening to this podcast who doesn't know about it?
Okay, so he told me that there was basically a game that was, a mix of like Star Trek and Risk. And I wasn't a big Risk player, but I was like, yo, I'm down to come try it. Let's try it out. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but I like space stuff, so I figured I would. And then we sit down and we actually build out. You start from the beginning and you build out the universe, so it's different every time, pretty much, right? You have tiles, and each person puts one down as you go around. And you can kind of choose where you want it to go, and you make they're hexagons, correct? Hexagon grid? Okay. It has been a while since we played. The one thing that I love about the game is... Actually, first, let me go on how you win. So, you win by getting victory points. You can get victory points by doing different things. By killing people, by doing, secret missions and stuff. And you don't want to show your secret mission to other people, because if they find out what yours is, they get a point. One thing I love about the game so much is that there are different races. You don't all just get different color ships. There are different races in the game, and that makes the game fantastic, because although some races start out with amazing starting lineups, they can be completely defeated by a race that starts with almost nothing but can manipulate the laws of the game. And that is actually how I ended up winning my first game. I was this turtle race, and they are not fighters, but I was able to manipulate the rules within the game. These guys were diplomats, into my favor, and I literally just sat at my base and waited. Everyone killed each other. I built up a nice nest, I'll call it, and it came down to me versus someone else, and he couldn't break through it. Yeah. There's another race that starts out, they're like the fire, like the ember race. They start out with a war sun. To put it into perspective, a ship rolls a dice, and if you get a certain number, you get a hit, right? The 2 small ships have 1 hit point each, bam, bam. These ships roll 3 dice, and you're getting 15 per hit. They're almost impossible to kill. You have to kill them all in one shot, pretty much, or else they can turn back over, and they're amazing. And there's another race that they're kind of like the Reapers from Mass Effect, where they can teleport through any wormhole on the map, and that makes them unique because no one else can do this. So I find the game to be fantastic, also because, and it's actually something that I didn't get a chance to mention before, was with board games, and I don't understand how people scoff at them, because it brings people together to play, to see each other as friends. You all sit down, you have a good time, you know what I mean? And in this case, Twilight Imperium, man, we will get together, we'll say 8 o'clock. It will probably start by 10 because no one shows up. Yep. Then we'll go get breakfast, right? We'll start the game at 10 o'clock. Then we'll sit all day and get dinner around 4 or 5. Then we'll sit all day again and play till 2 in the morning. So it's an event. It's an event. And to that point, and that's why I do like this. You need to plan this out. I pre-ordered it. I'm going to be getting it in October.
This is going to be the first game that we play on the board game table that we'll be in.
Oh,
But
nice.
you need to send an invite out and say, hey, this date, November, whatever, book it. You know what I mean? You have to give well ahead notice because people have to block out their day. You know, and obviously they have to be aware. This is not a game you can just invite anybody. They need to be vetted. They need to know what's going on. And the good thing about this is, since it's starting back from its original box, we're down to 6 players instead of 8. So it's not like we're looking for that 8th player to make our game.
Wait, is the expansion only 6 or we're doing 6?
Well, it's a brand new. It's starting all over, and it's only 6 players.
Oh, wow. Check that out. Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. So they've changed a lot of things to it. They said they streamlined it a little bit more, but honestly, how much could they? They can't really streamline anything.
Right.
But I think they switched the technology up a little bit to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this, and this is, out of everything that they mentioned at Gen Con, this is really the one that I'm excited about. It's nothing new, but I'm just excited to get it back to the table.
And I'd like to mention that it's a game that's hard to learn because you're very limited what you can do every time you have a turn. But once you get used to it, you can have all your stuff planned out, goes around the table, gets to you, I'm doing this. Then you're going around the table again, and while that's happening, you're planning your next move, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
It's hard to bring in, if you bring in a single new player with, say there was 6, that there were 6 of us, and one of us was a new guy, a single new player halts the game massively.
Yeah.
Like a massive amount. And that's okay, you know, everybody was there, right? Like I was there at one point. But it's also a game that everyone needs to realize, just like Monopoly, which is an infinitely shorter game, but Monopoly is still categorized as like a longer session to play, you know, a board game, is that when somebody quits, it ruins everything. Not to go into details. Not to go into details of our last thing, but if you have a group of people and somebody quits, no, it doesn't even matter what they do. It automatically affects everything. Everything's thrown off. All your plans could be down, you know, could be way down, because like, what if I was going to kill that person to get my last point and now they're not here? Like I could lose a game that took 16 hours to play because somebody quit. I don't mind if it's a 10-15 minute game and we just move on to something else. 16 hours and all that investment. Yeah. Nah, man. You got to be in there, and I don't care if you are dead last the entire time. You are not allowed to leave. You at least have to become a random element and start trying to kill people, because then you become, you know, like a problem.
Yeah.
Which is fair. If that's how you want to play the game, I don't care if you started like that and you had if you had no intention on winning and you just wanted to be a menace, that becomes part of that universe. So I don't know. I think that's my favorite game that we've played so far.
Chris, the next topic, or this other game that I'm excited about, I don't really know if it was really announced at Gen Con. I just know it's coming out I think in December as well. It's called Charterstone. It's another legacy-style game where there might be 30 different boxes that you open up, right? It's a worker placement style game, and literally you start with maybe 1 or 2 rules. I think they said that there was going to be no rule book to this game. I think since then they've actually started just to give you a tutorial walkthrough. But all the different boxes that you open up will introduce a new way to play. And I just wanted to throw this out there because here's another Legacy-style game. You did not play Pandemic. Neither one of you have played Pandemic Legacy, which is fantastic. Probably one of the best games I've ever played. But you both have played Risk Legacy, which was the first Legacy-style game.
You still have not yet completed it, but yes.
Which I am ready to play.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, you're right.
And we've played Seafall. Now, Seafall, let's just stick to your thoughts of the legacy aspects of the game, because that's kind of where this conversation's going, because this is what the next Charterstone's going to be. So I'll pitch that to you. What are your thoughts on Legacy style, the pros and cons of it?
I really like legacy games. I enjoy them because it's just the same way as I enjoy like Destiny and MMOs. It's a progression. You know, you are keeping an area or an upgrade or resources and using it later. You know, it's kind of like this thing. I like to hoard things and hold things. You know, keep things. So it really like satisfies that need that I have when I'm playing games. So legacies are really cool because of that. You can keep everything, and just like you said, rules change, or sometimes rules are added. Like in Seafall, rules are added and things change. So it's never the same game over and over. But yet it's constantly changing. But yet my problem is, and not really my problem because I don't buy them, but you can only play them once. That's my big thing. I'm a super cheapskate. If you two guys know, I'm super cheap. I'm not going to buy a game and play it one time, However, when Corey's situation, or someone who has a bunch of games, playing a game once is not too far-fetched.
Right.
When you have so many other things to partake in, to play, it's not that bad, And yes, Seafall is we're only going to play it once, but we've played it maybe 10, 12 times by the time we beat it, So maybe that is worth its gameplay, but that's my thing. You just can't do anything after you play a legacy game most of the time. It's done.
Well,
right.
The way that I see, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the way I see that is the same thing with a video game campaign. You know what I mean? You may not play it again. I guess like that's my kind of balance. If it was a great experience, I think that's like an awesome thing. For instance, like Time Stories. Is that I don't know if that's the same company, but once you beat Time Stories, that's a single sitting per episode, really. But they're fantastic experiences. So like
right, and I'm glad you guys both talked because Chris, you brought up the point that everyone on one side says. And
yes.
Doug, you brought up the point that I would say, there's so many games out there today. What do you want to spend your money on?
Right.
Do you want to spend your money on Monopoly and just play that as many times as you want? That's fine. But we've done that. Give me something different. And when I first heard that you place stickers on the board, you write in pen, you rip cards up, that is different. And that's where I'll spend my money because it's new and it's exciting, and when you rip something up for the first time, you're like, why did I just do that? And you're like, when you accept it, and then you like our pandemic game, like I put it on like a picture frame. So we'll always have that and I'll hang that up. So all of our legacy games will be like a great memory, and we're also currently in the middle of a game called Gloomhaven. So this is a dungeon crawler type game. And it's kind of a legacy element as well. So you level up your characters, you put stickers on different guys, you write on the board. The actual board of like what levels you get to go to or what dungeons start off with really nothing. But as you discover things, you place different stickers on the board, like, oh, here's a castle or here's a forest area that we can go to. And, people were complaining about, oh, I don't want to use a sticker. How else can I do this? Let me tell you. There's about 90 missions in this game. Andrea and I are about 25 missions in, and we must have spent at least over 100 hours playing this game. So if you really, am I ever going to replay this game again? God, I hope not. By the time I'm done, I'll be looking forward to Gloomhaven 2, let's say. So once you get over that step and accept it, then a legacy board game just becomes exactly what it is. And, it's fun and different. Rather than like, oh my God, am I worried about playing this again? Just go pick up another game on the shelf. And to Chris, your point, if you don't play that many board games, well, then you're right. Maybe a legacy game isn't the one you go out and purchase.
Right.
So those are the two things that I'm looking forward from Gen Con. Now I want to turn it over to Doug again on our most recent, I'll call it a disappointment. And Doug, do you know where I'm going with this?
Yes. Okay. So we're talking about To Hunt a Killer.
You got it.
Okay. So To Hunt a Killer is over the past couple years, through going to PAX, there's been a rise, and I don't know how long this has lasted for. So if I'm being like super ignorant, I'm sorry, but from what I've seen is there's kind of a rise of this style of, I'll call it a game. I won't call it a board game, but we'll call it a game where it's like a mail-in subscription game. So you pay so much money per month and they mail you things, like a box full of items, and it's like a mystery that you have to solve, right? And you do this along with a community of other players as well. The first one that I had heard of, just to give you some backstory, was called the Black Hat cooperative. It was something like this. I'm sorry, but they advertised it the same way, where like, hey, you become a part of a community. You might get phone calls with information, which sounds pretty awesome. You know what I mean? You get mailed stuff, and you and all the other players on the entire planet are trying to put together this mystery to solve it. Now, to Hunt a Killer, same sort of concept. We got our first box, and we go online and we watch a video, and the guy explains like, this first box is for you to get familiar with the characters that you're dealing with. So this is different to us, and Chris, I'm gonna put you in this in this group too, even though you haven't played. Was us being gamers, whether it's a board or video games, our main goal is to win.
Absolutely.
We want to solve the thing. And one thing about board games, real quick, not sidetrack too much, is that a lot of people don't know about co-op board games where you play together to beat the game. Okay, but there's a lot of them out there, and they're easily the best games ever. So in this case, you want to win. We always will look for the best way to win, the cheapest way to win. Strategize and do whatever you need to do to win the game and make sure that you don't lose it. So that's how we approached box number 1, and we're kind of going through the clues and things, and we're reading. They sent you like a letter from the company. The story is like there's a guy who may be in an asylum or a hospital or someplace that is contacting you. It's almost like a pen pal system. Guy contacts you, and he writes you a letter like, "Hey, I'm this guy," and he's kind of like cryptic and weirdish. I'm not going to go into too much detail because in case somebody wants to do it, I'm not going to spoil everything. But we're trying to figure out how to win box 1 to be prepared for box number 2, when in reality, box 1 is just so you know who you're dealing with, right? This is this guy's character. You kind of get used to the way he talks. He's kind of like a weirdo dude. And then you get a letter from the company, not the creators of the game, but the company who allows the pen pal to do their thing. And they send you news clippings and some pictures, and you kind of have to figure out what's going on with these items. You know what I mean? So you start trying to piece things together. You're going to Google, you're trying to find the original pictures and all this stuff, and it was really cool, right? We're like, all right, it was really cool, but what are we doing?
And Doug, I'll jump in. You explained it perfectly. Right now, we're excited. And we're thinking, we solved a few things. I think there was one like cryptogram that your wife Fran solved, and we were excited about that. We were piecing things together, and we said, hey, this is the first box. We don't really know if we should keep trying to solve something. Is there something to solve, or is this just the first box? And we're like, let's try the second box, because obviously it's a subscription service. You can't get it all right away, but there's got to be, where's the end goal? Can I beat it by box 4? Who knows, right? So we decided, let's go to box 2, which came the other night, and I'll bring it back to you, Doug.
So we got box number 2, and mind you, this, like, again, it's cool. It's cool. You open the box, you're like, oh, you're like doing the the Nintendo 64 to it, and you open it up, and there's like a black light in there, and the person sends you a checklist of the items that are in the box, like basically the security guard who checked all the items and wrote notes. You got a letter from the guy again, and you also got a letter from the company again, and then you got like a folder that had all this medical information in it, and it looks cool. It's so cool to be reading it and trying to figure things out. It really is. We take the black light on the back of one of the papers, and there's stuff showing up. We're like, man, we're like total sleuths. But by the end of the box, we're at this kind of standstill between me and my wife Corey and Andrea, where we're like, is there something we're supposed to get to again to get to the next box?
Is there something we're supposed to do?
To do, like, is there a goal with the information that we have from box 1 and 2 to beat that, to prepare for box 3? Like, we have this thing now. Box 3 is going to come. We're like, whoa. But then we realized, like, okay, box 1, they weren't being cryptic when they said we were just supposed to be getting to know the guy. That turned out to be very true. Box 2 is like, now we know what's going on in the story, right? They sent us, and I'm totally going to kind of spoil a little bit, they sent us like a tooth. They sent us, like, again, the black light, had like a blood stain on this piece of paper. And we found out that the guy, like the guy was friends with one of the security dudes, so that's how we got the medical records, and all that starts to be really cool. Like, oh man, he totally like shipped us the stuff we weren't supposed to have. But then we're kind of thinking to ourselves by the end of the night, and we were doing this for a couple hours, right? We were like researching some stuff, and we get to the point to where we're like, man, what's next?
Right.
And it almost felt like, and this stuff is expensive. It's expensive. $30 a month. Okay?
Yeah.
That's expensive.
It's expensive for what we're doing. When you
Right.
think about it in the long run, I think there's 8 episodes. You know, $30 was that $240
Right. And
for this experience. But
in reality, what it really ended up kind of being, and from how we all kind of felt, because we were
Doug,
skeptical.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Let me pause you real quick. I'm going to get back to that. So the one thing in box 2, so we understand we have to solve this murder, right? We got to solve this murder. He's telling us that he knows somebody that's really innocent, so we have to kind of like figure out why he's innocent, maybe how this person got killed. So now I'm like, okay, well, how do we physically solve it? And there was this letter that said, hey, if you get anything suspicious, you need to notify our company. Let us know who the person is, all the details. And I'm like, oh, great. This is their way of telling us this is how you can solve the game, right? Submit an email to them or write to them. So that's what I thought we were going to be doing.
Right. And we pieced together that there's, via timeline on dates and all the paperwork. And again, this to me was excellently done. If you look at the timeline and you read that this guy got put into lockup, and then this feels like, the guy couldn't have done it because he was locked up, right? So somebody else did this and tried to frame him, and we totally had that going. But in reality, what's happening with these boxes it's just a story. That's what we were afraid of with box 1, was that you're getting a piece to a story, you're going through it like, man, this is really cool. Next box comes, okay, I'm starting to put it together. Next box is going to come, all right, man, I totally see that this guy's innocent. Next box comes, wait a minute, maybe he isn't. You know what I mean? So it ends up being like a story, but come to find out, like, you don't win. You just experience it.
Yes, so it's not like a legacy game where you spend money and have an experience and somebody wins.
Right.
This, you're just along for the ride, and you're paying $30 for another chapter in a book.
Yeah, it literally is a chapter, and that kind of hurts when you think about it. And I think it's important to know that, and it got to the point where we were so worried about it, me and Corey both just looked up spoilers, right? We totally did. And because here at Hit Points Gaming, I feel like, this might be a spoiler, so mute the thing for the next 15 seconds, is like, we don't want you to do this going into, I don't want you to go spend $30 a month on this and think it's something that it isn't. At the end of it, we found out that you basically make the decision what happens as the player.
They don't tell you what actually happened.
No, you just be like, oh, well, I believe A happened, and this person believes, well, I believe B happened. And that's literally it. Like, that's kind of lame, man. It's kind of lame. Like, imagine if you got to the end of a video game, and it's just like a text box came up that said, what do you think?
Yeah. Right. It was pitched to us like a board game almost, in a box.
Yeah.
Solving a mystery. Hunting a killer. That's like a verb. Hunt. I'm going to solve this, find this person.
Yes.
It was more of like, hey, and it's an experience on its own.
It's
is. If you want that type of experience, if you like murder mysteries and just reading, but us as a gamer, we wanted to win or have an ability to pass or fail. You know what I mean? And this did not have it, and we have stopped our membership. That is an experience that I don't really care for. Really great idea, but just drop the ball on the solving part.
On the other hand, I feel like some people are going to be so into it, and I think that's totally cool. You want to get the box and go through it, and you have this kind of mystery of like a pen pal guy and what's going on. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna say that it's bad. just like I wouldn't say Madden is bad. I don't play it, but it's definitely not an experience for everyone, and it's important to know what you're getting into. That's what I feel like we need to mention here.
Absolutely. So, pros and cons of gaming. There's a lot of different versions, and maybe people that, again, don't know about board games got hooked on this, Doug, because they don't know really what else is out there, and this is something new to them. And it definitely would have been sharp if we didn't have board games where we could actually win or lose, and it's an interactive book, to read. So it has its own niche, and not everyone enjoys board games or video games. So I don't know why they would be listening to us, but we have to be conscious and aware that people may not. So
yeah, I think that's important. That's a very important point to make, as far as we want to educate you on what we're doing and the things that we're playing and what's good and what's bad, and that for us just happened to be bad. HitPointsGaming does not approve of to hunt a killer.
Thumbs down. So
Thumbs down.
Is there anything else that you guys want to mention for this podcast?
No, man. I believe I'm happy that we got to talk about Twilight. I'm happy that we got to talk about some of the old stuff and why we do play board games. Chris, you got anything?
I'm looking forward to Scott Pilgrim. It's a Scott Pilgrim, like a card game. I'm not usually into card games, but it looks pretty cool. It's Scott Pilgrim. I think we were all kind of into that thing when it was back in the day. It kind of sucks that it's been taking a while, but that's a game I'm looking forward to. It sounds pretty neat. It's like 6 people, 6 characters, and there's things you can do like both sides of the cards. That's really it.
Cool. Corey, you got anything?
I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to getting my board game table finally in from Kickstarter, and I will be christening it with Twilight Imperium. Hopefully,
when is it? Has it shipped yet? The table? When does it ship?
There was an issue with the first batch of shipping, and they were packaged right, and some of them cracked.
No.
Yeah, some of the tabletops cracked, and the actual insert, the foam, shrunk and whatnot. So I just said, hey, I'll wait. I'll be one of the last ones if, take your time, make sure you send it to me correctly. So you're supposed to get it, I think by November.
Oh, cool.
Getting them in. So soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of HitPoints Gaming's podcast. And make sure you check us out on Spreaker with the Filling the Void Podcast Network. Also on iHeartRadio. And I hope everyone has a wonderful morning or evening. Take it easy, guys.